A great monk once said that when you are thinking, you are suffering. And no pun intended, but when you really think about this saying, even though we're kind of going against what is being advised in the quotes, you notice that this tends to be the truth. So, for example, when we are thinking about the past, when we're thinking about somebody that perhaps did us wrong, perhaps a sad or traumatic moment in our lives. Heck, maybe we're worrying about the future. We're worrying about that assignment due tomorrow, that hard conversation that we have to have with a loved one. And it's in the process of this thinking, it's in the process of these imaginary, vivid images or pictures or even words in our minds that cause us to have these negative reactions and thus suffer. It's essentially the stories of the mind that we take to be reality, that we take to be truth, that really causes us the pain that we experience in this moment. And the sinister part is that our minds, as clever and tricky as they like to be, always try to convince us that this simple truth is not the case. It comes up with all these elaborate explanations as to why things are complicated, why suffering is this very elaborate and very dense problem that needs to be solved, it needs to be fixed and overcome and worked through, and only the mental capacity and intelligence of the mind can do this. And so you endlessly scheme and plan and strategize ways to overcome your sadness. You think, if only I plan enough and I think about every possible future outcome, then I can prevent myself from suffering. And so you end up in this incredibly sinister and toxic loop, the cycle of, I have a problem, I think about the problem, I suffer. Let me think more about the problem in order to overcome the problem. But as you can see, the more you think, the more you end up suffering. And so no matter how many times you try to outthink your problems, you never seem to be able to quite outrun the suffering that you are experiencing. And this is a sucky facet of human life. If you're not quite sold on this idea, I'm going to give you a little demonstration to show you just how true this actually is. And it's quite simple, right? Think about a moment in which you suffered, or think about something that is currently causing you to suffer. Maybe you're going through a breakup, maybe you recently lost somebody, perhaps you have something that you're stressed about. Whatever it is, just bring to mind something that is disturbing your mental peace of mind currently. And I'll give you a couple seconds just to really think about it. I know this sounds like initiated torture, so I apologize for starting you out this way on the video, but it'll have its benefits, I promise you. So take a few seconds and just think about that moment as clearly as you can in your brain. All right. If you need to take some more time, if you feel like you haven't quite adequately done this just yet, pause the video. Feel free to take a moment or two. This is really a profound exercise. So in case you were wondering, I was recently thinking about the death of my dog, right? Not this one, luckily. Hello, gorgeous. Unfortunately, we lost one of our family members to cancer recently. His name was Buddy, and he was naughty and full of nonsense, but he was adorable and we loved him. And so it really kind of hurts my heart to think about losing him. And it was quite recent. So it always brings me a sense of sadness that I'll never see his cute little face again. And so that is my sharing of suffering for the day. And I am with you in your sense of suffering too. And I hope that you feel peace after watching this video and that it can bring you some peace. Now, as you have this feeling inside your heart or in your chest or in your throat, just notice that as you thought about those feelings or you thought about that experience, that you had these sensations. You felt uncomfortable. You felt your body tense up. You felt a feeling of unease, of disturbedness. It just felt heavy and sad. And it's almost as though you were reliving that situation over again, right? Even though right now, you currently watching this video are probably like me, sitting in a chair. You are safe. You are in a house, you are in a building, you are currently not going through the trauma or the sad moment that you are thinking about right now, right? And right now, just take a moment to realize the human condition, right? This is the exact thing that makes humans not only incredible beings that have conquered the entire planet, right? We've used this skill of visualization, of mental rehearsing, right, to overcome so many obstacles in life. And that's why we are the apex species of the world. But the sad predicament we're in is that it's this exact ability, our ability to think about thinking, that makes us suffer, right? And so it's a paradox in the second part of this experiment. All I want you to do is, as I speak to you with these words, I want you to pay attention to the silences, the gaps in between the words that I'm speaking to you. Really feel that sense of stillness. Perceive the moments of silence between each and every single word. Notice what you think about as I speak, and as you notice the silences between the words that I speak. And perhaps ask yourself, what will my next thought be as you notice the silences and the gaps between my words? Just notice. If you've ever wondered what it's like to experience not thinking, maybe your brain mercilessly attacks you on a day-to-day basis, and you feel trapped in the mind, and it's this overthinking that causes you to suffer. Perhaps this is the very first time, or at least the first time in a long time, that you now know what it's like, even for a brief moment, to stop thinking. Notice that between the words I spoke, when nothing was said at all, it was in those silences, in those moments of clarity and peace, that the mind resided. You were fully present in your own life and in your own experience. I would congratulate you for this, but I'm hoping you've noticed that this is a lot simpler than people make it out to be. It wasn't that difficult for you to turn off your mind, even for a brief moment, and allow those silences to fill your awareness. And best part is, I'm willing to bet that in those moments, you did not suffer. You were not thinking about the past or the future, and therefore those uncomfortable experiences or feelings or sensations that you were experiencing when visualizing a painful moment, they were gone. They were nowhere to be found. And you were finally, even for just a moment, just for a time, you were at peace. Isn't that beautiful? Now you might be thinking to yourself, well, yes, I could experience that peace, and that was a lovely state of being. I'd really like to return to presence more often, right? But you might be thinking to yourself, well, why does my mind do this? Why am I always thinking about negative things and suffering when I could be simply enjoying the peace of this beautiful present moment, where I could be here in the now and be effective, right? It's not only about running away from our experiences. I think a lot of us have the fear that if we stop thinking or we stop strategizing, that our lives fall apart. But I'm hoping you notice that when you are clear, when there's clarity in your mind and you're not constantly indulging in these thoughts, you're actually a lot more present and therefore a lot more capable of actually taking constructive action. When you're in the moment, you can do things and work towards things that are productive, that benefit you, instead of allowing these random and chaotic thoughts to appear in your mind and take control of you and your emotional state. So you think to yourself, well, why do I have these thoughts? Why am I constantly thinking, even though I know that this causes me suffering? And the answer is actually very simple when you really think about it. The mind thinks simply because it is, firstly, a solving machine. Like I said, humans have evolved to think and to strategize and to plan because this gives us an advantage. It's our natural functioning and evolutionary biology that we think, that we problem solve, so that we can overcome problems and give ourselves the best chance at life. So it's a very natural thing for us to think because it is one of the hugest reasons for our continued survival. But the second reason is unfortunately the opposite side of this coin For where there is positive and good, there usually is negative or a bad side. And the bad side is that because you can think and because you can optimize and strategize and quote unquote improve yourself and your situation, your mind has slowly over time, as you've grown up, been fed a lie. And that lie is that you are not good enough. You are broken. You need fixing. Simply put, you are not enough. And so your mind does everything it can consistently, 24/7, to think about ways to problem solve for that issue, to fix you, to correct all of the pain that you have, to make sure that you don't experience that pain again. It's trying to protect you. It has good intentions. Unfortunately, when left unchecked, however, these good intentions turn into rumination, negative thought cycles, and ultimately suffering. I see this in my everyday life over and over again through my addiction to YouTube, right? I'm the kind of guy that will research philosophies, spiritual teachers. I will read books and constantly try to seek truth. And in itself, I would argue that that is a pure intention, to want to better myself and to become enlightened so that I can enjoy my experience of life, but that I can also help other people along the way. But I find it funny that every time I seem to find the answer, right, I get to a point in my learning where I feel as though I've learned enough. Like I feel like, okay, I finally have a grasp on this problem or this situation in my life. Now I'm going to live my life and finally enjoy myself and finally be in the present moment. And without fail, without doubt, within a couple days, maybe a week if I'm lucky, but it's usually within a few days, maybe even within a few hours, I find myself back on YouTube, looking for another video, looking for another guru to teach me about life, reading another self-improvement book, because I think I'm just missing one more answer. I'm missing one more piece of advice that will change my life. But I keep on coming back to this realization every time I repeat the cycle. And I think to myself, how many times or many videos or many books or many lessons is it going to take me to finally figure it out, quote unquote, solve this problem of life? You know, learn the cheat codes to the game of life. If I was really finding peace and finding answers and solutions, then why do I keep searching for more? Why would more information be beneficial to me? And over again, I continually discover that the reason I do this, the reason I try to solve problems and look for more answers, is simply because I want a specific outcome. My mind has told me and convinced me that if I don't have this six-pack abs body, if I don't have this car, if I don't have the dream partner, if my life is not perfect in every single way, then I cannot be happy. In other words, and as the Buddha would say, it is my attachments, and in particular, my attachment to outcome, that causes my pain and my suffering. We have been conditioned to become so dependent on outcomes, to need things to go right in our lives for us to be happy. But as you might have realized, dear human being, that no matter how old you get, no matter how many wins you have in life, successes, grand achievements, life is never 100% of the time perfect. There are always going to be things that happen that cause us to think, that cause us to suffer, that cause us to not enjoy exactly what it is that we want out of life. Yet we still have this delusional belief that we can control the world. We can control ourselves and control the outside world. And if I just keep trying harder, if I just keep looking for one more video, one more solution to my problems, then everything will be perfect and I will finally be at peace and be happy. But if this was the truth, if this was the case, then why have you never been able to sit down and sit with that happiness that you found from time to time in your life, in these very rare and brief, fleeting moments of joy? Why have you never been able to sit with that peace and enjoy it for the long term? Why does it always change? Simple, because life doesn't work that way. No matter how hard we try, we cannot control the outcomes of this life. We can influence events, we can do things that position us in better positions, but ultimately, this life, as much as we don't like to realize or accept this truth, this life is very much outside of our control. It is out of our hands, and we cannot and should not always want the perfect outcome to happen to us, because then life would be boring. We would never have any challenge. We would never experience yin and yang, the ups and the downs. But we ceaselessly ignore this fact. We don't want to realize the truth that life is good and life is bad, life is joy and life is suffering. But what if I told you in this video today, my friend, that if you can finally figure out a way to detach yourself from the outcome, to let go slowly but surely of the attachments that rule you on a day-to-day basis, because make no mistake, it is in your attachment to this person, to this place, to this outcome. It is in the attachments that cause you to think, to over-strategize, and ultimately to suffer when you're thinking or when your outcome is not realized. And when you realize, perhaps for the first time in your life, that what you are actually searching for, your truest desire, beyond all of your wants and needs, beyond the fancy cars and the women and the friendships and the status and success, beyond all of these superficial things, right? What you actually fundamentally want in your life is peace of mind. You want to be rid of this constant strategizing, overthinking, outsourcing your happiness. And why, you might ask? Why is it that I'm searching for this peace of mind? So that you can finally return to the only moments that could ever bring you joy, that could ever and only bring you peace. And you might have guessed it, but it is in this present moment. Whether you know it or not, or want to accept it or not, you are always trying to return to this moment, because it is in this moment of peace, of clarity, of enjoying what is right now, regardless of outcomes. This is the moment where you find peace. This is the moment where you find clarity. This is the moment where you decide the best course of action. You can't do it 2 days from now. You can't do it a week ago. You can only live your life today, right now, as you take your next breath watching this video. That is what you are after. But the sad realization, and perhaps not sad, but freeing realization that you can have today, is that you can end this cycle. And all you have to do is allow yourself to be in the present moment. Not force yourself. Notice I'm not saying bring yourself back, drag yourself back to the present moment. This is not a forceful activity. This should be as easy as breathing air in the present moment, right? This is not a hard thing to do. The way to do this is to consciously realize the truth. Realize that you are suffering because you are seeking an outcome. You need things to be a certain way. But if you can remember and remind yourself that I'm indifferent, if you can truly accept life for whatever it is right now, good or bad, happiness or sadness, because ultimately all pain and all suffering is a feeling. It's an uncomfortable sensation in the present moment. It is a state, a changing state that comes and goes. And if you realize this, if you realize that the state I am in right now does not have to be forever, it will change. And I don't need things to be a certain way in order for me to be in a certain state, because I can accept this state as it is right now, even if it's not what you chose. You will be amazed as to how quiet the mind suddenly goes, because suddenly it's unemployed. It has no job to do. It has nowhere to be. It has nothing to plan for. And when the mind is unemployed, it rests, and you find yourself effortlessly in the moment that you've always been looking for, the here and now. And that's it. It's as simple as that. So your takeaway for today, your actionable homework that you can take with you into the week ahead, it's so simple. Do your best in this present moment. Do what you think you need to do. And then consciously realize that you can be okay with any outcome that presents itself. Realize that you will be fine whether you get what you want, whether you don't get what you want. And in that simple realization, realize where you find yourself after realizing that, when the mind quiets down, when it subsides, and inhabit that present moment. And then you'll think again, and then you'll be strategizing again, and then realize, oh, my mind is thinking. My brain is moving. Why? I don't feel like I'm enough. I'm trying to fix something. I'm trying to optimize. Oh, wait a minute. I'm okay. I don't need to be anywhere else. I don't need to be better. I don't need to be fixing anything right now. And then return to the moment again. And in this practice, you can do this through meditation, even in your daily life. It doesn't even require a seated practice. Just practice this returning to the moment, returning to the truth. And it is in your seeking of this truth, in your realization of this truth, that is all you need to set you free. And the mind will slowly calm down and will find itself unemployed sooner than you realize. This too shall pass away. When you're experiencing a good moment, something that you wanted to happen, realize this too shall pass away. And you'll appreciate it more because you realize it's fleeting, doesn't last forever. Experience something bad, having a heartbreak, going through stress, pain, suffering. Say to yourself, this too shall pass away. And realize that this will not last forever. This will no longer hold you and grip you as tightly as it does right now. And that's a beautiful thing. And ultimately, just remind yourself that no matter what happens, good or bad, I am satisfied with any and all outcomes that life presents my way. And I choose today to simply let life flow.